Welcome back to the Sean Trey Show. I have a solo episode for you guys today where I'm going to be talking about fun things I like to talk about. But today I want to talk to you about why most people quit too soon and how you can keep going. It's something that everyone does. I remember when I was a kid, one of the problems is that my mom, it was fun, but we tried a bunch of different sports. We tried a bunch of different instruments. And this is something I was talking to Ailani the other day about. I practiced and learned a lot of instruments. I learned piano. I learned the French horn. I learned the trumpet. I learned the guitar. I learned the violin. And I play none of them. I have guitars on my wall. I love guitar. But I will tell you guys right now, I suck at guitar. And it's something that is actually quite comical because when I was doing videos with my wife, every single music video that I'm in, I am faking guitar, which is embarrassing. There are multiple videos where people have commented, those are not the right chords. He's not playing that guitar. And it was true. I was not. Now, why can't I play any of the instruments? Because I quit. Sadly, I quit. Now, why do people quit? Because we can talk about this. Everyone has that feeling of quitting sometimes. But what separates the people out that quit from the people that keep going and succeed? Well, there's a couple things that come into play. One of them is the dip. Now, what is the dip? Well, the dip is when excitement begins to fade before the results show. Now, this could be the kid that's learning to play violin. And violin is a really hard instrument to learn because it sounds really horrible until it sounds good. And a lot of people give up of different things. A better example is Ailani, my daughter. I had her learning piano. And I'm going to tell you the truth. The first 2 years of Ailani learning piano were brutal, absolutely brutal. It was like Mary had a little lamb for endless amounts of time. And she was stuck in that dip. Luckily for her, her father is a little bit nuts, and I kept urging her to continue, and we kept having practice, and we stuck with it. And then the results began to show. She was able to play some amazing pieces of music, and she just fell in love with piano. Well, growth slows, and frustrations will rise, and a lot of people hit that wall. Now, the moment you want to quit is the moment that you need to keep pushing. And that's something you got to remember. When you want to quit, that is the moment that you need to double down and see, hey, what is it that can help me keep going? And you got to ask yourself the why. Asking yourself the question of why is one of the most important things you can do because that's what keeps you going. And you might not have that why. And that's another great time to have a group of people around you who can kind of motivate you to keep going and can help you identify your why. Now, another thing that's really important is this. Don't quit on a bad day. No, we all have bad days. Trust me. When I do podcasting, last night I had 2 no-shows. People booked. I was ready. I had my setup going, and then the people didn't come. Now, that was not fun. But decisions made in emotion will often lead to regret. And if you quit your podcast, if you quit playing piano because you had a bad day, you're going to probably regret that at some point in time. Man, I wish that I could play piano well, but I quit. There was a day, I remember the day, that I was sitting there and I had a new teacher and it just wasn't fun. And I didn't want to keep going. You need to take those moments and sit there and find a strategy. One of the things that I recommend doing is to rest before quitting. Now, when you take a moment to rest, when you take a moment to collect yourself, you're stepping back and you're getting clarity about what you're doing. Now, discipline is remembering what you want. And when you can sit there and think about what you want, and what you're doing this for, again, it comes back to the why. It's much easier to keep going on those bad days. But you don't want to quit on a bad day because it's not a representation of where you're at right now. One of the things that I try to tell my daughter, and I try to remember, is this, and this is one of the most important points. Small wins build big change. Now, Ailani was sitting there going, dude, I need to practice 3 hours today. And I said, no, you don't. You need to practice 30 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes. But if you do that every day, those small wins build up into something much bigger and much more powerful. You really want to focus on daily progress, not perfection. It's the consistency that will beat the intensity. It's like people that go back to the gym. And you get January's coming up. We're going to have all those warriors that go in, I am back to the gym. And they do it and they work out so intensely. And then they crash because they feel horrible. Instead, what if they said, today, I'm going to go to the gym for 15 minutes and they go in, they do some light workout and they feel okay. And they go home and the next day they're not too sore and they go and show up again at the gym. Now, if you can have those small wins and build it into something that you can do consistently, it makes a lot more progress than if you try to do something big. Now, one of the things that's really important too is identity in this. Let me explain this. Identity over motivation. We see it. I hear a lot of people talk about this on my Growing Money podcast, where people sit there and go, I'm bad with money. Well, if you tell yourself that you're bad with money, you're going to be bad with money. But the same thing applies here when we're talking about not quitting. If you say to yourself, I'm the kind of person who finishes, and you identify as being a finisher, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to start doing that. So, one of the things that we want to do when you feel like giving up are, what are some of the self-limiting beliefs that you have going on in your space that might be limiting you? That might be, what? I'm not the type of person who finishes. I'm a quitter. Yeah, man, get rid of that negative self-talk. And I know everyone on the internet talks about how every day we have these bad thoughts. We do have a lot of negative thoughts, but you also have the ability to start reframing yourself as someone who finishes things. Right now, I had a bunch of people canceling all my podcasts this week, which really sucks. I haven't been able to find people for this podcast, The Sean Trey Show, which is my flagship. This is my main podcast. But I can say, well, you know what? I'm the type of guy who makes videos no matter what. And here I am, sending something out to you to help motivate you while I'm motivating myself. And when we start getting these new identities, we can start building habits that prove that identity. If you say, I'm the kind of person who finishes, well, what actions does a person who finishes takes? For me, it's about making videos. Today, I'm making this video to, again, inspire myself, but hopefully inspire you a little bit. Now, there was a great quote by Aristotle. Hopefully he was the one who said this, but we are what we repeatedly do. And if you are finishing projects every day, I'm going to tell you a secret. You are a person who finishes stuff. That's awesome. If you're the person who goes to the gym, you're the person who's fit. If you're the person who is careful with your money, well, I'm going to tell you a secret. You're good with money. Now, if you can repeatedly do something, then that becomes part of who you are. Now, again, something I touched on earlier, and I want to circle back to it. Remember your why. Now, who needs you to keep going? Your family, your team, your audience? I forget about how this podcast is important until I go and I look at my weekly downloads, and I'm looking at that going, wow, there was this many people. And again, guys, the numbers don't matter. What if it's one person? What if it's 1 million people? Doesn't matter. If there's one person out there who is the reason that you're doing what you do, if there's one person who's listening to this today, probably going to be my editor, Tree. Shout out to you, Tree, sitting right over there. Maybe this is going to help him have a better day. Maybe it's going to make him have a worse day. I hope not. And that feeling of your why, that action that motivates you to keep going is really important. So identify your why. And you know what, guys? Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes there is pain. I know when I was learning to play guitar, again, I'm not that good, but I still know a bit. That pain that I felt in my fingers was kind of a battle scar. When I looked at those calluses on my fingers and I look at them and I go, wow, you see that? That pain that I'm experiencing is a symbol that I'm doing this right. That pain, that soreness that you have from the gym means you worked out. That tired feeling that I get in my legs from Muay Thai class, it means that I showed up. Now, don't run from the pain. Don't run from the discomfort. Instead, sit there and embrace it and go, you know what? I did good today. Now, remember, don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. And if you need to take a break, obviously take a break, but don't quit. Keep going, keep showing up. And if you do, you can accomplish something amazing. All right, guys, hope you have a beautiful day. And if that was useful to you, let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye.